Do you know what significant events have occurred on this day in world history? December 1776. At a time when American independence was still a dream, one of the most important battles of the Revolutionary War took place. At Trenton, General George Washington's troops inflicted a crushing defeat on the British forces. This victory was a turning point in the North American colonies' struggle for freedom. After long setbacks and losses, Washington decided to launch a surprise attack. On December 25th, his army crossed the Delaware River, braving the bitter cold and ice. The next day, the troops launched a surprise attack on the positions of the British and their allies, the Hessian mercenaries. The enemy suffered heavy casualties, while the American forces suffered almost no casualties. This battle not only raised the morale of the Americans, but also gave new impetus to the revolutionary struggle. Thanks to Washington's determination and strategy, independence came closer. The moral victory inspired the colonists and strengthened their faith in the ideas of the revolution. This victory became a symbol of how strategy and courage can change the course of history. It showed that even in the most difficult moments, there is always room for decisive and life-changing steps. Imagine this: December 1978, France. Dozens of cars, motorcycles, and trucks embark on their first incredible journey across deserts and endless steppes. It was the beginning of the legendary Paris-Dakar rally, one of the toughest races in the world. The idea was the brainchild of Frenchman Thierry Sabine, who dreamed of creating a race that would test the endurance of man as well as machine. The route stretched from Paris to the Senegalese capital, Dakar, across thousands of kilometers of off-road terrain. The competitors battled not only with their rivals but also with nature, heat, sandstorms, and difficult landscapes. The race quickly gained popularity and became a symbol of adventure and courage. Each year, the rally attracted more and more participants who wanted to test their strength. It became an arena for technological innovation and a symbol of driver courage. Everyone who completed the route felt like a winner, as the competition was tested to the limit. Today, the Dakar remains an iconic competition, even if its route has changed. It is a vivid example of how one man's dream can become a global phenomenon. Would you like to be part of such a challenge? Have you ever wondered when the computer became an integral part of our lives? It was in 1982 when Time magazine named the computer Person of the Year. For the first time in the history of this prestigious nomination, the winner was not a living being but a technological device. This decision reflected a new era. Computers were beginning to change our lives in every area, from business to everyday life. In the 1980s, they were still expensive and accessible only to a select few, but the prospect of change was clear. The computer symbolized not only progress, but also the beginning of the information revolution that would change the world forever. Imagine that 40 years ago, people could not even imagine smartphones or cloud technologies, but that period laid the foundation for the digital age we live in today. Every year, technology becomes more accessible, more convenient, and more powerful. From the first bulky models to today's smartphones, this journey demonstrates the power of human ingenuity. Today, we can't imagine life without technology, but could people in 1982 have predicted how far computers would go? Which device do you think will win this award in the future? On December 27, 2007, a terrible tragedy struck Pakistan. In the city of Rawalpindi, after a rally of thousands, opposition leader and former Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto was crowned that day. An explosion occurred. A suicide bomber blew himself up, killing Bhutto and 26 others and wounding 90 others. Bhutto had always been a symbol of democracy, equality, and the fight against religious extremism. When she returned from exile, she sought to change the country and give her people hope for a peaceful future. Her death was a blow to millions of supporters who saw her as an opportunity for change. The tragedy led to widespread unrest in the country, and the assassination remains shrouded in mystery and controversy. Benazir Bhutto fought not only for democracy, but also for an end to the religious extremism that threatened Pakistan. Her death plunged the country into a political crisis and strengthened the influence of radical groups. Despite the tragedy, her ideas and commitment to the people still inspire many, and her image has become a symbol of the struggle for justice and equality. If you like our video, give it a like and subscribe to our channel. We will keep you happy with other interesting videos. On December 27, 1831, The Beagle, a ship that would change the course of scientific thought, set sail from the English port of Plymouth. On board was 22-year-old naturalist Charles Darwin. It was not just an expedition, but a 5-year voyage that took in South America, the Pacific Ocean, the Galapagos Islands, Australia, and other parts of the world. The young scientist studied flora and fauna in various regions, collected samples, made sketches, and recorded his observations. The discoveries in the Galapagos Islands were particularly important, as Darwin noticed differences in the structure of the beaks of finches that lived on different islands. This led him to think about the evolution of species under the influence of environmental conditions. The result of this trip was On the Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection, published in 1859. Darwin proposed a revolutionary theory that species change over time through adaptation and the struggle for survival. This voyage proved the importance of observing and analyzing nature in order to understand the laws of the world in which we live. On December 27, 1932, Radio City Music Hall opened in New York City, an architectural masterpiece and a symbol of the cultural greatness of the United States. It was a place that combined art, entertainment, and innovation. Designed in the Art Deco style, it immediately became the largest indoor theater in the world, with a capacity of over 6,000. The opening was grand, famous artists, unique performances, and the technological marvels of the time wowed audiences. The early years of Radio City Music Hall were the golden age of movies and live performances. Cult films premiered here, and the stage became home to the Rockettes, a legendary dance troupe whose shows still draw sold-out crowds. At the time of its opening, Radio City Music Hall was considered a technological marvel, with unique lighting, perfect acoustics, and expansive sets creating an unparalleled atmosphere. The hall became home to legendary shows and concerts. Today, this cultural center continues to attract millions of tourists and locals alike. Have you visited other historic places that are still centers of culture and entertainment? On December 28, 1065, King Edward the Confessor of England completed the construction of Westminster Abbey, one of the most prominent symbols of London and England. Built in the Romanesque style, the building originally served not only as a religious center, but also as a place for the coronation of English monarchs. It was Edward who sought to create a church that would surpass anything that had been built in the kingdom before. Legend has it that he personally oversaw the design and financing of the building, as it was his dream to build a house of God on the banks of the Thames. Edward the Confessor died a few days after the opening, but his legacy remains forever. In time, the abbey became the burial place of monarchs, prominent figures of culture and science. It was here that all English and British monarchs were crowned, starting with William the Conqueror. Westminster Abbey has been rebuilt and restored many times, but it has always retained its majestic spirit, becoming a symbol of British unity and tradition. Today, the Abbey is not only a tourist attraction, but also a functioning church where important state ceremonies are held. Everyone who enters its walls feels the breath of centuries and the grandeur of history. In December 1895, the German physicist Wilhelm K. Konrad Röntgen published his famous article describing the discovery of a new type of radiation, X-rays, or as they came to be known, X-rays. It was a real breakthrough in science and medicine. Röntgen accidentally discovered the rays while working with cathode ray tubes. His discovery made it possible for the first time to see what was hidden from the human eye, the inner structure of the body. The discovery quickly gained worldwide fame. Doctors realized that X-rays could be used to diagnose fractures, detect disease, and even remove bullets from the bodies of wounded soldiers. Röntgen himself was so impressed with his discovery that he tried to explain it at the household level by showing a picture of his wife's hand, with the bones and wedding ring clearly visible. This discovery became the foundation of modern radiology and medicine in general. It has saved millions of lives and is still used as the main diagnostic method. On December 28, 1895, at the Grand Café on the Boulevard des Capucines in Paris, an event took place that would change the world forever. The first public screening of the Lumiere brothers' films. 10 short films were shown to the public, including the most famous, The Exodus of the Workers from the Lumiere factory. The movie lasted only a few seconds, but it impressed everyone present. The people coming out of the screen seemed real, and the movement was magical. The audience did not yet realize what a revolution this new technology would bring, but those who saw the first images could not hide their surprise. Among them were ordinary Parisians as well as journalists who wrote about the miracle of moving pictures the next day. The Lumiere brothers not only demonstrated the technical feasibility of filming, but also ushered in a new era of cinema. From that moment on, cinema began its triumphant march around the world, evolving into an art that unites millions of people. Do you think the Lumiere brothers could have imagined that their invention would become such a powerful tool of culture and entertainment? If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, now is the time to do so, and we'll keep going. December 29, 1940 is the day that London became the center of the largest air raid by Hitler's Luftwaffe, known as the Blitz. The raid was part of a campaign to destroy the British capital in the middle of World War II. On the night of December 29th to 30th, German aircraft carried out the largest bombing raid on London, using more than 500 bombs that caused enormous destruction. This raid was the deadliest and most destructive of the entire campaign. Londoners hid in bomb shelters and the city literally went up in flames. The central areas of the city, where the most important government and cultural institutions were located, were particularly affected. Massive fires that erupted after each explosion consumed buildings and destroyed everything in their path. Despite this destruction, the British continued to fight and did not panic. Despite heavy casualties and terrible destruction, the British did not break. This brutal blow only strengthened their spirit. Strategically, the raid did not change the course of the war, but it became a vivid symbol of resilience and courage. Do you think that these tests of strength made the British more determined to fight the Nazis? Or were they always prepared for such difficulties? On December 29, 1845, an important and strategic decision for the United States took place. The Republic of Texas officially became the 28th state of the United States. This moment was the culmination of a long struggle for independence for Texas, which had previously been part of Mexico. After the Texas Revolution of 1836, when the state won its independence from Mexico, Texas remained an independent republic for a long time, but eventually it was decided to join the United States. This decision provoked a strong reaction in Mexico, and in fact became one of the reasons for the Mexican-American War, which began the following year. The annexation of Texas changed the map of North America and became an important step in the expansion of U.S. territory. It also symbolized a new stage in the national development of the United States. The gradual integration of Texas into the American economy and politics changed the balance of power on the continent and determined the future of conflicts on the southwestern borders of the United States. On December 29, 1989, an important and historic event took place for Czechoslovakia and all of Eastern Europe. At a joint session of both chambers of the Federal Assembly of the Czechoslovak Republic, Václav Havel, a prominent Czech writer, dissident, and human rights activist, was unanimously elected president of the country. This day became a symbol of the victory of democratic forces in Czechoslovakia after decades of communist rule. Following the events of the Velvet Revolution later that year, Czechoslovakia broke free from Soviet control. Havel, who was the main ideologue of this revolution, became a symbol of change and hope for Czechs and Slovaks. Havel's election as president was an important step in the country's democratic transformation, opening up new opportunities for its development. The leader, who had previously been imprisoned for his beliefs, became a symbol of freedom and independence. His speeches and calls for peace and mutual understanding contributed to the development of new political and social movements in Central and Eastern Europe. Friends, if you liked our video, put a like, subscribe to the channel to learn about many significant historical events.